No one really wants to talk about this part. Like, yeah, sure, healing, peace, alignment, all that stuff. But the part where everything hurts? The part where you literally feel like you're going to break in half? Nobody mentions that. Not the influencers. Not the soft spiritual TikToks with the ocean sounds. Definitely not the people trying to sell you some perfect morning routine to fix your soul. But let's just be real for a second. Suffering that changes you, not in the poetic "it made me stronger" way. I mean in the messy, ugly, face down on the floor way, where you're not reflecting, you're not processing, you're just trying to breathe through a moment you didn't ask for. And what's worse, people around you don't even know what to say, so they hit you with the usual "everything happens for a reason," or the worst one, "just stay positive." Like, bro, I'm dying inside and you want me to manifest? Sometimes suffering doesn't come to teach you something right away. It just comes to destroy the version of you that couldn't see clearly. And yeah, maybe that sounds dramatic, but you felt it. That snap inside your chest, that moment where you realize you're not who you thought you were. And honestly, you're not even sure who the hell is left. It's terrifying. It's lonely. And it's also the start of something real. But we don't talk about that. We rush through it. We bury it under quotes and cold showers and staying busy. But the truth is, that moment where you feel like you're falling apart, that's the beginning, not the end. So yeah, the moment it all falls apart, that's not failure. That's a freaking cleanse. I mean, think about it. How many fake-ass versions of yourself were you holding up just to keep it together? The "I'm fine" version, the "I've got it all under control" version, the "I'll deal with that later" version. You build this whole identity around keeping it cool until life walks in and says, "Nah, sit the hell down." And then boom, everything crumbles. And it's not some soft, gentle thing. It's loud. It's painful. You're crying in places you swore you'd never break down. You're pulling away from people who used to feel safe. You're questioning every damn thing you ever believed. And here's the twisted part. That's exactly what needed to happen. Because you can't grow into who you're meant to be while you're still busy maintaining the version of you that was designed just to survive. Read that again. Most of what we call stability is just fear with a schedule. And when suffering rips that stability away, yeah, it hurts like hell. But it also leaves you with the one thing you never had before. Truth. Like raw, naked, nothing left to hide truth. You see how much of your life was performative, how much you were chasing validation, how much you were avoiding silence because you were scared of what you'd hear in it. And now there's nowhere left to run, no more routines to numb it, no more people to blame, just you, the pain, and the invitation underneath it. And I know that sounds insane when you're in the middle of it. Like invitation? Bro, I'm dying. But yeah, sometimes that's the point. You're not supposed to bounce back. You're supposed to break open. Let the pieces hit the floor. Let the masks fall. Let the fake strength die. Because what's left after that? That's the version of you that doesn't need a story to stand on. That's the you that's actually real. You'd think once the breakdown happens, you'd feel peace, right? Like, okay, I faced my demons, I collapsed, now bring on the light. But nah, it doesn't work like that. At first, it just feels quiet. Not peaceful quiet, empty quiet. Like you're in the wreckage of your own life, sitting in the ruins, and you're like, okay, now what? No direction, no plan, no answers. And that's the part nobody prepares you for. See, the breakdown isn't followed by instant clarity. It's followed by a weird freaking in-between space, where you're not who you used to be, but you're not quite who you're becoming either. And that space? That's where the real growth happens. Not the cute Pinterest quote kind of growth. I'm talking about the uncomfortable, boring, awkward-ass kind. The kind where you're sitting with yourself and realizing, damn, I don't even know what I want anymore. You don't even trust your old dreams. You start questioning goals you were chasing for years. And it's not because you've given up. It's because you finally stopped trying to perform your way into worthiness. That's what suffering does. It strips away everything that was never really you. All the masks, all the roles, all the surface-level coping mechanisms that made you functional but disconnected as hell. And in that emptiness, something quiet starts growing. Something small, something real. You begin noticing things you used to miss. The way your breath feels when you're not trying to force anything. The way silence isn't as threatening anymore. It actually feels kind of honest. You start paying attention to the way your body reacts to people instead of just nodding along because it's polite. You realize you don't have to tolerate certain energies anymore. You don't need to explain why you're done people-pleasing. You don't even feel the urge to justify your boundaries. Because once suffering empties you out, you finally have space to hear yourself. Not the voices of survival, not the noise of external expectations. Just you, raw, quiet, clear. And you might not know exactly where you're going yet, but for the first time, you're actually walking in your own direction. Not running, not reacting, just moving, with honesty. And that might be the most powerful shift of all. You don't come out of that kind of collapse and just go back to normal. You can try, sure. You can put on the same clothes, hang around the same people, smile the same way, but something in you just doesn't click with it anymore. It's like life keeps offering you the old script, but your soul's already off book. And it's weird, because things that used to feel exciting now feel flat. Conversations that used to fill you now drain the hell out of you. And places you once felt at home and suddenly feel too loud, too shallow, too disconnected. Not because you're bitter, not because you're better, just because your eyes are different now. You're not scanning the room for approval anymore. You're not laughing at jokes that go against your spirit just to belong. You're not chasing after people, hoping they'll finally give you what you were supposed to give yourself. You're more quiet, more intentional. And honestly, that freaks some people out. Because let's be real, most people are addicted to the version of you they met before your suffering cracked you open. They liked the predictable you, the agreeable you, the one who didn't question much. But now you're moving different, and that doesn't always make sense to them. You cancel plans without guilt. You say no without a 3-paragraph explanation. You spend more time alone, not because you're isolating, but because silence finally feels like a place you can breathe. You don't want surface anymore. You want substance. You want people who've been through fire and came out softer, not colder. You want conversations that feel like something is actually happening inside you while they speak. And maybe that's the real gift of suffering. It doesn't just wake you up. It edits your life, silently, without asking permission. It makes you allergic to fake. It gives you this built-in radar for energy that's not aligned. You stop walking into rooms trying to win people over and instead start asking, do I even feel safe here? That's not a mindset shift. That's a nervous system shift. That's your body finally catching up to a truth your mind used to avoid. You start to move slower, not because you're lost, but because you're actually feeling things now. Not reacting, not performing, not rushing through discomfort just to get to the good part. Because the good part? It's here. In the real, in the raw, in the fully present version of you that suffering unlocked. There are things you don't come back from, not in a traumatic way, but in a your soul isn't interested in pretending anymore kind of way. After real suffering, there's this quiet shift that happens in how you see everything. Like you'll be in a room full of people laughing and smiling, and part of you just knows some of them are dying inside, and nobody's saying a damn thing. And that used to be you. You know that mask too well. You wore it with precision. You held it together so convincingly, people used to compliment your strength, not realizing it was just survival with a smile. And now, you don't play that game anymore. You don't fake it. You don't force it. You don't call it resilience when it's really just you abandoning your own truth for the comfort of others. Because suffering taught you something no book ever could. Everything you ignore comes back louder. That lump in your throat when you want to speak up. If you silence it long enough, it turns into burnout. That gut feeling when someone drains your energy. If you keep brushing it off, it turns into resentment. That part of you that's screaming, "This isn't it." If you keep pacifying it with distraction, it turns into depression. And after you've sat in that darkness, you stop negotiating with it. You learn to listen sooner. You learn to leave faster. You learn to stop dressing up your pain just to make it more comfortable for others to look at. And yeah, it makes you quieter. Not because you've got nothing to say, but because you've stopped trying to be heard by people who only listen to comfort. You start valuing energy over words, presence over performance, depth over decoration. You used to need validation to feel worthy. Now, you just need peace, and you're not willing to trade that for anything anymore. Not for a job, a relationship, or an audience. Because once you've suffered, like really suffered, you stop mistaking noise for connection. You start choosing solitude that feels clean over attention that feels fake. You start trusting the stillness, even when it's uncomfortable, because you've learned that clarity doesn't scream, it whispers. And you finally start to realize you're not healing to get back to who you were. You're healing to bury that version for good and become the version of you that knows how to live without performing, apologizing, or waiting for permission. That kind of shift? Yeah, it's permanent. There's this moment that happens after it all, after the breakdown, after the silence, after the awkward in-between space where nothing feels like home. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's not something you can post about. It just arrives, like this stillness that sits in your chest. Not because everything's perfect, but because you're not fighting with reality anymore. You're not trying to twist it into something prettier. You're not demanding it make sense before you agree to feel it. You're just here, completely here, for the first time in what feels like forever. And that stillness? It's not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a different kind of relationship with life. You're not walking around looking for signs anymore. You're not begging the universe to give you clarity like it's withholding something from you. You're just noticing. You notice how your body responds when it's safe. You notice how your energy shifts around certain people. You notice when your old self tries to react out of habit, and you pause instead. That pause, that's where freedom begins. Because now suffering isn't something you fear. You've seen what it does. You've seen what it strips away. You've seen how it leaves you with nothing but truth, and how that truth, even when it's heavy, feels better than the lie ever did. You stop asking why it happened. You stop needing closure from people who never gave you presence in the first place. You stop trying to package your pain into something inspirational. You just let it be real, unpolished, unfiltered, human. And somewhere in that space, where you're not pushing or pulling or grasping for meaning, you start to feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Peace. Not the fake kind. Not the one that depends on everything going right. But the kind that shows up when you're not pretending anymore. When you're finally aligned with what's true, even if it's uncomfortable. And that kind of peace? It's quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself. It just lives in your breath, in your slowness, in your refusal to abandon yourself ever again. You don't go back after this, because even if life gets chaotic again, and it will, you're not meeting it with the same blind survival instinct. You're meeting it with a level of awareness that doesn't flinch, because you've been through fire. And now, you walk like someone who knows what the ashes feel like. That's not pain anymore. That's power. If you felt something during this, like something hit a little too close or something cracked open in you, don't rush past it. Don't go scroll to the next thing. Don't dilute this moment with noise. Just sit with it, even if it's uncomfortable, especially if it is. You don't have to explain what you're feeling. You don't have to label it. Just notice it. That's enough. And if this video met you at the right time, if it made you feel seen, drop the word "shifted" in the comments. That's it. No long message. Just that one word. So the rest of us know we're not the only ones walking through this. And if this is the kind of space you want to come back to, real words, no fluff, no pretending, subscribe. Because this isn't just content. It's a place for people who are done performing and finally ready to be real, even when it's messy. You're not alone in this, and you're further than you think.